again.
Bray Wyatt was last seen on WWE programming last month on the Raw after WrestleMania 37. He returned to the Firefly Fun House following the Fiend's loss to Randy Orton at the Show of Shows this year. Wyatt has since been on the sidelines once again, but this time, it appears that he may have requested time off to work on his mental well-being. In his absence, Alexa Bliss appears to have taken over his role as the supernatural being on Monday Night Raw. Wyatt will obviously make his return to WWE TV when he is ready. Even though his recent run has left him in a tough position, there's few ways the Universal Champion can rise from the ashes. The following list looks at just 5 ways that WWE could book the return of Bray Wyatt. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more WWE news stories.
Yowie wowie!
Number 5. Bray Wyatt could target Randy Orton once again. Bray Wyatt wasn't the man who lost to Randy Orton at WrestleMania, instead, it was The Fiend. It's currently unclear whether or not Wyatt's alter ego will return to WWE programming now that Alexa Bliss has seemingly filled his role. Wyatt could instead make his return and be the man who calls out Orton on behalf of The Fiend. The Viper has since stepped into a storyline with Riddle where the duo looks to be forming quite a formidable tag team. It depends on how long Wyatt will be away from TV, since he could return at SummerSlam and target Orton once again. Wyatt has several options when it comes to making his return to Monday Night Raw, but since The Fiend's loss at WrestleMania was such a big shock, it seems like the feud was never truly finished. Orton has moved forward from his rivalry with The Fiend quite quickly, and has not talked about it since. Bray Wyatt returning as himself rather than his alter ego could open this feud up once more. This return could also allow the two men to have the cinematic match that they wanted down the line. Number 4. Bray Wyatt returns to the Firefly Fun House. Following The Fiend's loss at WrestleMania last month, WWE obviously had a plan for Bray Wyatt. The former WWE champion returned to the Firefly Fun House the night after WrestleMania, and appeared as though he was moving forward without The Fiend. Wyatt has been missing from WWE programming for more than a month, and in that time Alexa Bliss was able to introduce Lilly. The new addition to her storyline has since allowed her to forget about Wyatt. This could mean that Bray's future on Raw isn't going to be focused on Alexa Bliss or exacting any kind of revenge for WrestleMania. That being said, there's nothing preventing the former Universal Champion from returning to Monday Night Raw as the Firefly Fun House Bray Wyatt. This return would allow him and his puppets to target someone else on the show and create an interesting storyline. The Firefly Fun House has been one of the most consistent parts of Wyatt's character over the past few years, and a return could allow him to go back to his roots and redevelop his whole image. The Firefly Fun House remains as entertaining as ever, and Bray Wyatt's manic imagination is still utterly captivating. Number 3. Bray Wyatt could return as The Fiend and target Alexa Bliss and Lilly. Before Bray Wyatt went on hiatus from WWE, the former Universal Champion was in a position where he was looking to exact revenge on Alexa Bliss for costing him his match against Randy Orton. Bliss had seemingly become too powerful and decided that she no longer needed The Fiend. This led to her distracting the former Universal Champion and costing him at WrestleMania 37. Bray Wyatt has not been seen on TV in any form since the night after this year's Show of Shows, which has allowed Bliss to become much stronger and unveil her own partner, Lilly. It's hard to believe that The Fiend wouldn't want to get revenge for his loss at WrestleMania, and he could easily target Lilly. Could The Fiend take the demonic doll away from Bliss, and put her in the Firefly Fun House with his own puppets? This could be the best way for Wyatt's alter ego to show Alexa Bliss what she cost him at the biggest show of the year. Number 2. Bray Wyatt could return with a new female partner to go up against Alexa Bliss. Bray Wyatt has a ready-made storyline to return to with Alexa Bliss following their issues at WrestleMania last month. Bliss has already proved that she isn't afraid to step into the ring with male WWE superstars, since she was able to carry an entire feud with Randy Orton. Wyatt doesn't seem as though he would want to wrestle Bliss when the former WWE champion makes his return and could instead replace his former partner. At present, Bliss seems to have a delicate mental state as part of her new character, and this could tip her over the edge. This would also open the door to a new feud in the women's division and allow Bliss to have some in-ring action. The bigger question here would be, who Bray Wyatt could recruit to the Firefly Fun House. Could this be Nikki Cross Lifeline on WWE TV, or is there another female wrestler who could fill the position? Number 1. Bray Wyatt could make his return on SmackDown. Bray Wyatt has been stuck in a feud with Randy Orton since making his return to Monday Night Raw. At the moment, there aren't many rivalries the former Universal Champion can have on the red brand, once he makes his return to WWE. He could target the WWE Champion, Bobby Lashley, once he comes back. However, a loss would hamper both men in the long run. This means it would be better for Wyatt to make his return to Friday nights, and he has a storyline ready for him on the blue brand. Before Wyatt was drafted over to Raw, there was a tease he was looking to go after Roman Reigns. Reigns defeated The Fiend to win the Universal Championship at Payback 2020 and essentially sent him packing to Raw. The Tribal Chief has brushed aside all challengers to his throne, and Wyatt could be the one to finally overcome Reigns. This could be the best way to reintroduce Bray Wyatt back to the WWE Universe, and a feud with Reigns can help in establishing him as a dominant force on the roster. Give me just a little more time, Keith Lee responds to his WWE release rumors. Keith Lee's WWE status has been heavily speculated over the past few months. His last in-ring performance was back in February 2021. It was reported in March that WWE did not clear him to compete. Various reports have confirmed that Keith Lee was kept out of action in February because of health-related issues. Keith reportedly underwent some examination after being sidelined in February. As of yet, we have no word on what the result of those tests was, but it is reported that Keith was zealously working to get cleared for a WWE return. Keith Lee addresses his supporters. On May 25, 2021, Keith Lee took to Twitter to address his fans and supporters. He wrote, "To the people offering uplifting words. Know that I appreciate you greatly. And worry not, when I say #I am limitless, I mean it. I will try to find a way to explain everything in the most efficient way possible. Give me just a little more time." Keith greatly appreciates the love his fans are showering him with and wants them to know that he acknowledges each and every one of them. Lee wanted his supporters to know that when he says he is limitless, he means every letter of it. In the end, he asks his supporters to give him a little more time. Lee stated that he is trying to find the best possible way to explain everything that has been going on with his WWE release controversy. Lee proved his hater wrong. Keith Lee also replied to a tweet that said he can't do a moonsault from the third rope. To this, Lee replied that a quick search on Google or YouTube would have kept the person looking like an imbecile. He also went on to declare that the person was not a wrestler, so he should stay in his lane. The tweet read, "A quick Google or YouTube search would have kept you from looking like an imbecile. And you're right, you're not the wrestler. Stay in your lane." Another fan of Lee replied to the person with a video showing Keith Lee doing the very thing he said Lee couldn't. "They call him Relentless Lee for a reason. The man doesn't know how or when to give up, a trait not every individual possesses." What are your thoughts? Comment down below and let us know.
Oh, let me up with a bright smile on now. Put me in the dark, so won't get lost now. To the moonlight, eyes you.